Hollywood's hidden victim, Dictiem. The seven of Srearsierd kept secret for years. In the years since, many chilling details of what happened to her have come to light. And the fiinaly shocking. In the sweltering early summer of 1931, beneath the unforgiving glare of Universal's studio lights, an gaunt Englishman lay strapped to a cold metal slab. As fantastical machines crackled around him and white-hot carbon rods dangled above his chest, the man endured a literal 30-hour torture session in silence. He was encased in quilted padding, weighed down by 11-pound boots, and forced into a shoulder brace that permanently altered his posture. When the film was finally released that December, he wasn't even listed on the marquee. He was billed simply as a question mark. Yet this faceless role would transform William Henry Pratt into Boris Karloff, the undisputed king of horror. A heritage shrouded in shadow long before he was a monster, he was a boy born into a household of violence and secrets. Born on November 23, 1887, in East Dulwich, William was the youngest of 9 children. His father, Edward John Pratt, was an official in the Indian Salt Revenue Service with a notorious reputation for drunken brutality. Family accounts recall Edward once throwing his wife down a flight of stairs and dragging his daughters across the floor by their hair. By 1889, Eliza Miller had seen enough. She took her children and left, an act of defiance and divorce that was nearly unheard of in the Victorian era. William never truly knew his father, but he inherited a heritage that he would spend much of his life concealing. Both parents were born in colonial Bombay, carrying Anglo-Indian and Siamese ancestry. This mixed bloodline, which included his great-aunt Anna Lenowens. The inspiration for The King and I gave William a darker complexion that made him an easy target in a society obsessed with racial purity. The making of an outsider, William's childhood was not just marked by the secrets of his ancestry, but by physical trials that would have broken a lesser spirit. Physical mockery. He was severely bow-legged, a condition so pronounced that doctors suggested his legs be broken and reset. Speech impediments. He suffered from a debilitating stutter and a heavy lisp, for which he was relentlessly jeered at by both teachers and peers. The floppy-eared rabbit. These cruelties gave him a profound empathy for the broken. His daughter, Sarah, later recalled him saying he would always choose the floppy-eared rabbit because that was the one that needed the most love. The black sheep's great escape while his 5 elder brothers were groomed for the diplomatic service. William had a different calling. At the age of 9, after playing the Demon King in a Christmas pantomime, he decided the theater was his only true home. After the death of his mother in 1906, William hatched a plan to escape the rigid expectations of his family. He deliberately failed his diplomatic exams and, in 1909, took his inheritance and sailed steerage to Canada. To his brothers, he was a scandal. To the world, he was a man starting from zero. His first decade in North America was a brutal grind of manual labor, back-breaking work. He dug drainage ditches for $2.80 a day and hauled cement sacks, work that permanently damaged his spine. The birth of Boris. While touring with a small repertory company, he improvised a Slavic-sounding name to hide his tracks. Boris Karloff. The Russian cloak. The name served as a protective camouflage. In a time of intense racism in America, a Russian background was a plausible explanation for his dark looks that still sounded European enough to satisfy the bigoted standards of the day. The precarious path to fame, the 1910s and 20s were a blur of touring and domestic instability. Karloff was married and divorced 4 times during these decades, a history he was so keen to leave behind that he never mentioned these wives to his future family. His break eventually came by sheer luck. Someone threw a theatrical journal out of a passing train window, and Karloff found an advert for an acting job in Saskatchewan. He slowly mastered his stutter through breath control, though his signature lisp remained a trait that would later make his monster even more hauntingly human. After being rejected from the British Army due to a heart murmur, he turned his full attention back to the stage, unaware that a rendezvous with a certain doctor and his creature was only a few years away. Outro. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the secret origins of Boris Karloff, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to History Expose, or Hollywood Icons Mysteries. Join our membership program via the link below for exclusive perks. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next mystery. Hollywood's hidden victim, Dictiem. The seven of Srearsierd kept secret for years. In the years since, Many chilling details of what happened to her have come to light, and the finally shocking. By 1914, William Henry Pratt, now performing under the exotic-sounding pseudonym Boris Karloff, was a man running out of options. His attempt to take a repertory company to Chicago had failed, and his funds were vanishing rapidly. When the First World War broke out, he attempted to do his duty and enlist in the British Army, but he was rejected by a doctor who discovered a heart murmur. With no other choice, he returned to the only place he felt appreciated, the stage, the grind of the road. Karloff spent the next several years touring the Canadian prairies and the American Midwest, performing for audiences of farmers and railroad workers. This period was a brutal, formative masterclass in survival, the performer's craft. He mastered his stutter through careful breathing techniques, though his signature lisp remained a permanent fixture of his voice. Manual labor. To survive between acting gigs, he took on punishing physical work, including digging drainage ditches for 10 hours a day and lugging heavy cement sacks, labor that permanently damaged his back. Reinventing the self, he continued to use his Slavic stage name as camouflage for his Anglo-Indian roots, believing a Russian-sounding surname would offer protection against the intense racial prejudices of the era. The price of a secret life. As Karloff struggled to establish himself, his domestic life became a revolving door of failed relationships. Between 1910 and the 1920s, he married and divorced 4 different women. The pattern of divorce: his marriages to Grace Harding, Olive de Wilton, Montana Williams, and Helen Soule all dissolved under the pressure of constant touring and precarious finances. The hidden past. In a move of characteristic secrecy, Karloff would never mention these 4 wives again for the rest of his life, keeping his early marital history a total secret even from his later family. 1931. The transformation by the early summer of 1931. The years of digging ditches and touring small-town theaters led Karloff to a cold slab at Universal Studios. He was no longer William Henry Pratt. He was a character actor about to undergo a physical ordeal that would redefine horror cinema. The physical torture. For 30 hours, Karloff lay strapped to a slab, encased in sweat-soaked quilted padding and forced into a brace that made his shoulders slump. The heavy burden. He wore 11-pound boots and sat under white-hot carbon rods that dangled dangerously close to his chest. The question mark. When Frankenstein was released that December, the studio was so unsure of his star power that his name was omitted from the marquee, replaced by a literal question mark. Despite the anonymity and the physical agony, the floppy-eared boy from East Dulwich had finally found his place. He wasn't just playing a monster. He was infusing a creature of science with the tender pathos of a man who had spent his whole life as an outsider. The story of Boris Karloff is more than just a horror tale. It is a testament to a man who used his own brokenness to create something beautiful. If you want to see more untold stories of the legends who built Hollywood, please like this video and subscribe to Hollywood Icons Mysteries. Join our membership program for exclusive behind-the-scenes content and a chance to vote on our next subject. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next mystery.